So everybody that's invited on here are people that have got introducer agreements with Unity Group. And really, this is just thinking I speak to quite a few of you on a regular basis, and I just thought it would be really good to bring about, we've only got a few months left for the rest of this year, to bring about a bit of focus to try and help everybody make some money and also get good quality sort of introductions across the line. Now, Unity Group are absolutely snowed right now in terms of deals. We have tons and tons of stuff going on, particularly several different new listings. And one of the big challenges that we have is that when deals come in that are either new listings or related to new listings, they kind of have to go in sort of back burner pipelines. And these are quite time consuming, and obviously for you as the introducer, have a sort of indeterminate amount of time before they actually bear fruit. And if you look at MBH, for example, the listing process for that was over 2 years to actually get that listed. The Vulcan deal that we did took 8 to 9 months before we ended up doing it. Again, CMG Cleantech was a similar sort of time. So bringing something new, you could be looking at a year or more before you actually get any anything from it. So what we decided to do is to actually stop any new direct listings just at the just for a period of time. So we're going to review it again in the first quarter of next year, but for now we won't start any new direct listings. And then for the introducers, we'll look at 2 key areas. So one of them will be deals for existing listed companies, and the other will be investors for existing listed companies. So the existing listed companies that we have are obviously MBH. So MBH Corporation, as many of you know, it's 28 subsidiaries across several countries, 7 countries, I think it is now 6 countries. Producing consistent financial results. There's some great companies in there. They've got a 5-star ESG rating. They've got, they tick a lot of boxes. So obviously, companies that could go into MBH is an easy source of quick gratification in terms of getting deals done. The optics on MBH, when people Google it and look it up, fantastic. It comes across really, really well to people, and that's a very easy thing to let people just Google around and have a look at MBH. Where it looks quite weak is in the share price evolution area. But obviously, when we do a deal, we can do a deal using the bonds or using shares. So I wouldn't get too bogged down in how the transaction would take place from an introducer standpoint. I would focus on letting them have a look at MBH and the optics of MBH, and then seeing if that's something that could be appealing, and then just getting them onto a call with myself or Callum. And then so that's MBH. The other one would be CMG Cleantech. Now, CMG Cleantech actually has a much bigger market capitalization, about 200 million euros market cap, but has almost nothing in it. So MBH has all these great companies that generate profits. CMG Cleantech, the optics of it are not so good yet. We're right at the beginning of the journey with that one, so we're just starting to build all of the collateral and the story, and there's new board members coming and new companies joining and all of that sort of stuff. So when people look at the optics on CMG Cleantech, it doesn't look as good right now, even though the share price side of it looks much better. The companies in there at the moment, there's Tech Infinite, which is a hydrogen battery and solar business. It's a really exciting business, and they're doing incredible projects with some huge names around the world, and more stuff will be announced in the coming weeks and months around that topic. Ocean Polymers, which is a waste to energy company that basically the idea is turning plastic back into oil, but there's a lot more to it than that. That company's already been announced and should complete, and then there are other ones that will come after that. So from an introducer standpoint, anything in the kind of clean energy space, ideally things that don't need funding. So if they're, it's not, there's loads of these clean energy things that we've got the solution to this problem, it just needs $100 million and then we can get started. That's not the perfect product or the perfect company for CMG. So yeah, CMG would probably be a little bit more mature. So somebody just asking about the ticker. Yeah, so CMG, the ticker is MLCMG. It's on the Paris Euronext. So MLCMG. And obviously MBH is M8H, if anyone wants to look that one up as well. So yeah, both of those companies are kind of open for business in terms of deals that you can bring to the table. And then we have Vulcan. So Vulcan is a relatively new one. It was an existing Aquis listed company. We've helped them divest 2 loss-making assets, and we've put in 1 profit-making asset. They've just announced a new acquisition, which is a company called Peregrine X. So I'm really slow with this this flu. So they've just announced a new acquisition, which is called Peregrine X. Peregrine X is all of the companies in Vulcan are engineering businesses. Peregrine X is another engineering company, but it focuses actually in the oil and gas space. They have a sulfur testing technology that actually works really well in oil and gas, but can also be applied in the medical sphere. It's just currently the biggest take up for it is in the oil and gas industry. But it's basically engineering services type businesses. So there are currently 3 engineering companies in there. Peregrine X will be the 4th engineering company. So yeah, if you have companies in the engineering space, then Vulcan might be a good home for them, or if it's something, yeah, oil and gas engineering, Vulcan would definitely be a good home for them, because MBH wouldn't really look at oil and gas. So there's a good, option. So yeah, so basically clean tech for anything in the clean energy space, CMG clean tech for anything in the clean energy space, engineering services going into Vulcan. And then obviously MBH can take businesses across the board. So from an introducer standpoint, those are probably the 3 easiest places to focus, because the deals can obviously be executed much more quickly because they're already listed and they're kind of ready to go. Up on the screen there, you'll also see Insurgo. I would probably hold off on Insurgo for now, just because it's not listed yet. So it's one of those ones that's 2 weeks away from listing, but it's been 2 weeks away from listing for about 6 months now. So I will come back to you on that one when it's actually listed. But leaving all of these up here on the screen is quite useful, because the next thing I was going to talk about is investment. So another way you as introducers can earn some funds is by finding investors for companies. Now, you know, historically, I think you only make a very small percentage on investment, but in order to make that a little bit more exciting, we're going to increase the commissions that are paid while we're not taking new companies through the kind of IPO process. So you'll be able to make much more commission on an investment. So in MBH, there's a particular appetite to sell the bonds of MBH in the secondary market. So there are a number of bondholders in MBH who would be interested in selling their bonds. These bonds obviously pay like a 5% annual coupon. The bondholders would be open to a discount. So that discount would enhance the yield, so give a much higher percentage return. So they could make a double-digit interest rate return. Bonds are only suitable for sophisticated investors. So that would be institutional investors or high net worth individuals. But nonetheless, can be a really nice investment. Like I say, a double-digit return secured at the MBH group level. And like I say, there's a number of bondholders within MBH that would have an appetite to sell a few of their bonds. So I think there's a good opportunity there. MBH couldn't take any equity investors at the moment, but of course people can just go into the market and buy, but then obviously you can't make a commission on that. But if you do have bond investors, there's probably about £8 million worth of bonds in the secondary market. I think we've issued about 30 million in total. And there's about 8 million that are available in the secondary market that you could get a 10% commission on marketing or selling to people. So effectively yeah, there's 800 grand of commission kicking around there for the right for the right person. So that could be quite interesting. Then CMG Clean Tech. Obviously, clean energy is a really sexy sector at the moment. I mean, there was a big move towards ESG back in 2020 when BlackRock and the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, which collectively are the two largest investors on the planet, said that they would only invest in ESG companies going forwards. And there's been a big sort of uptake of that. I would say that probably only had about a third of the investor community convinced, as in the rest of them just said, well, we prefer just to make our choices based on things that make money rather than other fluffy factors. But obviously the war that's currently going on, the energy crisis that's currently going on, has brought clean energy sharply into focus. And so even the people that previously thought it was a bit fluffy are now on board with, I would say, viable technologies. So nobody really wants to be on the bleeding edge of the technology with the stuff that hasn't been proven yet or is not in the field. CMG has technologies that are out there that are being used. They have blue chip clients. They've got the Saudi Arabian Railway adopting their stuff. They've got Essex County Council. They're doing an installation for. They've got the largest private landlord in the UK. They've got one of the largest real estate developers in the US and a number of other really great blue chip type clients that are adopting this technology. So yeah, CMG can be a really interesting one. People can participate in the equity in CMG. So again, they can buy shares at a discount. They can buy shares either on market or directly from CMG. If they sign a lockup agreement, typically those lockup agreements are only 90 days. With a 90-day lockup agreement, they can get a rebate, which effectively gives them their discount. And again, you can get a double-digit introducer commission for that. So 10% introducer commission, which is pretty healthy. Similar thing with Vulcan. The opportunity to buy shares. It's quite a small company at the moment. It's only about 5 million market cap, but the Peregrine X deal is worth about 200 million. So that company is about to have a 200 million plus market cap. And again, the technology that they have for oil companies is pretty incredible. The sulfur testing that they do. Traditionally, every oil well in the world has to send samples back to be tested for sulfur content. If there's a change in the viscosity of the oil, they normally have to turn it off for 2 weeks while they wait for the test to come back. This allows them to do real-time testing. And the way it's set up with Vulcan is that they're charged per test. And so the machine sits on site regularly testing these wells. ADNOC, for example, which is the Abu Dhabi oil company, would put this on 200 of their wells. Aramco in Saudi want to put this on, again, hundreds of their wells because it stops them being switched off when they're doing sulfur testing. So the potential revenue streams just from that part of the business, despite the other parts of the business, are absolutely huge. So it's quite exciting. And again, oil and gas is an area that is experiencing a high level of investment right now just because of the energy crisis and people's focus on creating energy security going forwards. So Vulcan again can be an equity investment position. And in Sergo, despite the fact it's not listed yet, there are some pre-IPO opportunities there. And again, we can do 10% commissions for investors going into Sergo. It would be a longer lockup within Sergo, a 12-month lockup agreement, but they would get a discount on the IPO price, so like a proper pre-IPO. So just to summarize, in Sergo would be a 12-month lockup and a bit of a discount. Vulcan would be a short-term lockup, a 90-day one. CMG would be a 90-day one. MBH would be the bonds primarily, and all of those would attract the 10% commission. I'm feeling really slow with my words. Let me just see what questions are coming in here. Will you share step-by-step process document later? Yeah, Gina's nodding away, so that sounds promising. I certainly don't have it.
If you guys can just drop, for those of you that want the document, if you could just drop me an email, gina@unity-group.com, and then I'll send it to you. I don't want to bombard everyone and send it to everyone. So for those that want it, just send me a message and I'll send it to you.
Cool, perfect. And so, yeah, in a nutshell, that was all I had to say really, was creating a focus around either raising investment or finding deals for those three companies will all be things that can be executed very quickly and potentially provide commissions and returns before Christmas. So get things moving before the end of the year. What's the minimum size CMG Vulcan? No real minimum. I mean, ideally I would probably say 10 grand plus, but we can look at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 sort of area for a small investor, and then 50 plus would be more, sort of the kind of high net worth institutional type investor. So is there many companies ready to go into MBH in the minute? So there haven't been many new ones this year. There hasn't been a lot this year, but there is a huge pipeline. So I think one of the big challenges this year has been, there was this big collapse in 2020, and actually we did a lot of deals in 2020. I think we pretty much did a deal a month in 2020, and now we've come out the other side and everyone's kind of it's a new set of challenges, let's say. And the new challenges are around lots of demand from customers, hard to get staff, inflation challenges, all of those things that businesses are facing. It's just very hard to keep their attention on progressing the deal forwards. So we have a lot of deals in the pipeline that are kind of trundling along, it tends to be feast or famine. So you tend to have these dry periods and then lots and lots of deals close quite closely together. Introducer fee would be paid in shares, bonds as well. If it's the investment, it would all be cash. So if you're raising investor capital, then it would all be cash. If it's a company that you're introducing into the group, you would be paid in the same way as the business owner. So whatever deal we give the business owner, we would give you a percentage of the same deal. Vulcan is listed, it's on the Aquis Stock Exchange in London, and I think it's VULC as the ticker. It's currently suspended pending this big deal. So we've announced Peregrinex deal, but because it's very material, it's a 200 million acquisition for a 5 million market cap company, the stock is currently suspended. So as soon as the sale of the share purchase agreement is completed, then it will be trading again. So I'm guessing like a week or something, and we should be finished there. What size companies for CMG Vulcan? Anything you like. So the last company we put into Vulcan before the 200 million one was a company doing like 200 grand of profit. A company called Aftec. We can do smaller companies into that. CMG in the clean tech space, a lot of the businesses do tend to have less revenue and profit because they do tend to be earlier stage businesses in clean tech. So it's not too important that they have lots of revenue and profit, but it is important that they're ready to go to market, or they're already going to market, and that they're not looking for tens of millions of investment in order to finish a product or develop a product or whatever it is. So things that are ready to go, basically. Okay, all right. Is there any reason that you know of why MBH share price has been so suppressed? What's the solution to this? More sellers than buyers, and the solution is getting more buyers than sellers. So there is, I think one of the challenges with MBH is that there is a large free float. So there's a lot of shares in the market. And that was from the kind of pre-IPO phase as much as anything. If somebody buys up that free float, then the whole thing will look very different. I think also there's a big aspect of momentum around that, which is that things that are going down, people don't tend to buy because they feel they could go down some more, and things go up, people tend to buy because they feel it's going to be worth more the next day. So it's that fear of missing out thing. So I think once you do see a turnaround, then you'll probably see a more consistent green channel forming in the share price. What are some selling points to investors for CMG and companies inquiring to join? Just really from a company coming to join it, when you're a small green tech company, it's actually quite hard to get decent contracts. It's also very hard to create carbon credits from the thing that you're producing. You can create carbon credits, but they tend to be the crappy end of the market carbon credits. When you're a global multinational public company, you can issue proper carbon credits that are bought, that are either UN or EU certified, that can be sold to Volkswagen and Daimler and people like that. And that completely transforms the economics of things that you do. So for example, we were looking at an electrolysis plant, which is converting seawater into hydrogen. And when you do the maths on it, it's about a 20-year payback, which is about a 5% return on capital, which is not terribly exciting. I mean, it's exciting because the buyer was the Swedish government. So you get a contract from the Swedish government that gives you that 5% return, but it's kind of, not terribly exciting. When you add the carbon credits into it, it pays back in 4 years. So completely transforms the economics of it. So if you're a small private company and you did that, you'd be on the 20-year gig. But as a large public company that goes and does the same thing, you get all your money back in 4 years, and then you've got another 16 years of government-sponsored income coming out of the thing. So it's completely transforms the economics, makes it much easier for them to get those big contracts and punch above their weight, basically. With regards to investors, it's energy is very much in focus. There's a massive energy crisis. So you have to have your head in a cave not to notice what's going on in the world. Recently, CMG is winning contracts, like I say, with the Saudi government, with UK government, with Kushner Group in the US, doing a huge development. They're doing all the clean energy for that. With Nikki Beach, they're building the first ever net zero ski resort for Nikki Beach. It's called Nikki Ski in Switzerland. So there's a whole chunk of really, really good contracts that are coming out of that. The Ocean Polymers business, which turns the plastic into oil, they're looking at doing a takeoff agreement with the British Virgin Islands government. So when cruise ships park in the British Virgin Islands, they dump out all of their trash. This technology will effectively turn that trash back into oil, which could potentially be sold back to the cruise ship and run the cruise ship. So you effectively have a circular economy of turning their trash back into the fuel that they're burning to drive around the Caribbean. So there's just some really cool stuff that they're doing. And if you compare it to, things like the hydrogen stocks that are listed on NASDAQ, even at 200 million market cap, we look really cheap. So I think there's a lot of upside left in that. The technology is fantastic, and I think the upside is huge. What level of profitability revenue is needed for CMG candidates similar to MBH? No, just needs to be in there. So MBH has the very specific kind of agglomeration criteria. Things that don't fit with MBH, we have these other vehicles for. With CMG, we understand those businesses tend to be a bit more early stage. So we're happy to look at stuff where the technology is mature and ready to market, but they would benefit from being part of this bigger group. Wonderful. Well, pre-revenue is okay, yeah. Like I say, as long as they're not looking to raise tons of money and that they've got a product that's ready for market. They might well find their route to market already exists within the CMG group, because we've got these fantastic relationships with the Saudi government, the British government, and so on and so on for delivering these things. So it might be that we can help. E-commerce businesses welcome into this structure. Yeah, we could take e-commerce businesses into MBH for sure. I think that would fit quite well. Would a services company be okay for CMG? No, absolutely, yeah. Anything that's in that kind of clean energy or green tech space or clean tech space, we can look at for sure. Cool. Right. Well, I'm going to finish my pint of Lemsip and I get an early night. So CMG provide no. So I mean, the other companies within CMG are very well connected, so they can definitely help with getting stuff to market. So if they've got a really good product, but they're struggling to get it to market, I think there's a lot of people in there that could help them. You know, the guy that runs Tech Infinite has been in the large scale clean energy projects for the last 20 years. So like $2 billion projects for the last 20 years. And the other guy used to be the head of battery technology for Williams Formula One, and is sort of recognized as one of the leaders in battery technology in the world. He actually designed the battery system they use in Formula E. So he is Mr. Battery. So the connections that they've got from that are obviously quite powerful for anybody else joining the group. What's CMG's ownership interest? I know perhaps 3. Let's set up a call when you can. Yeah, I mean, look, CMG, they reverse into CMG, so they become a subsidiary of CMG, and then a bit like with MBH, and then yeah, obviously increases the value for all. Just got connected, but can I get the replays? Yeah, we'll post it in the app, I'm guessing, Gina, or yeah, email everyone who registered.
Again, just if you're not on part of the Harbor Club and you're on the app, just email me and I will share the recording. One other thing, so basically, Weston, you were asking that 3 companies. So basically, all you need to do is make sure you have an introducer agreement with us. And in the document that I am sending out to you, there's the process that we like to follow. So basically, it's getting the owner on a call with Jeremy, and then basically we take over. You're welcome to join the calls if you'd like, or you can just leave them with us and we'll take it from there. So yeah, just yeah, I can send you the document.
Yeah, and by the time you get on a call with me, I'll have all my faculties back and I'll be able to finish sentences and everything. It'll be amazing.
Yay.
So on that cop, I will love you all and leave you all, and look forward to seeing you through less bleary eyes next time. See you all soon.